Good evening and welcome to Expo 360, the most comprehensive show in town, telling you what's going on inside and outside the Expo Park. I'm He Jian.
And I'm Pan Xiaoli here. Now, this is day 676 of the World Expo, and we thought we were going to take a little bit of a detour away from the national pavilions to actually talk about some of the key concepts that are being presented at the World Expo.
Yeah, we will specifically look into the case in Macau and telling Shanghai how to preserve its cultural heritages.
Yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephen Weathers and I'm standing in the Urban Best Practices area of the 2010 Shanghai World Expo Park. Now behind me is a pavilion called Tak Sung Ong. That's Cantonese for I don't know what. So we're going to discover what that means together. Let's go. Walking among various UBPA pavilions, I sometimes feel I'm wandering among different mini-cities. When modern meets classical and West meets East, a sense of beauty and balance comes together. Inside the Macau Case Pavilion, the furnishings and displays clearly show what the building is about. One of the traditional names of the pawn shop is On, and in Cantonese that simply means pawn shop. Here, you can enter the traditional doors to see what it originally looked like. This is where the pawn shop transactions happened. Guests would come in the main door and they could stand behind this private wooden screen. This is similar to the ATM screens we have for privacy. The transactions would happen here and then the customers would leave. But my question to you is, what is a pawn shop doing in the Urban Best Practices area? And that's for me to know and for you to find out. How many secrets are hidden in this little room? What experiences await beyond the iron doors? With so many questions, I can't wait to discover all of the answers. Behind this door, a whole setting of an Eastern-style pawn shop came into view. The materials displayed here are replicas of the original ones from the Tak Sung Ong, built in Macau in 1917. Stacks of pawn tickets with mysterious characters hold even more fascinating stories that are now unfortunately lost with the passage of time. This looks like a prison, but it's not. This is where the most valuable items for the pawn shop were kept. And between the front door and here, there's 9 different locks protecting all of the valuables. This area is also reinforced with steel, so it's safe in case of fires. But I haven't answered the question yet. What is a pawn shop doing in the UBPA area? We still need to find that out. On the second floor of the original Tak Sung Ong pawn shop in Macau, there's a room dedicated to the calligraphy of Dr. Louis Cha. Now you may know him by his pen name, which is Jin Yong. He wrote many martial arts novels set in the Ming and Qing dynasties. In this room, you can see those novels, and you can also see the desk where he wrote those novels. For almost 30 years, Mr. Jin Yong has put great efforts to help Macau's cultural development. And Macau is also the place that inspires some of Jin Yong's works. During the 1950s, he went to Macau several times to support a martial arts contest. Later, this competition inspired ideas that he adapted into his novels. When the pavilion organizers set up Jin Yong's desk here on display, he was generous enough to loan the folding panel that sits behind his desk in Hong Kong. But what the pavilion organizers didn't know is there's a poem etched into the back of the panel. And here in the pavilion, when you walk around the display, you can see that poem. Because this side of the folding screen actually attaches to the wall in Jin Yong's office in Hong Kong, these priceless inscriptions are only now presented to the public for the first time. And behind the screen, several titles of Jin Yong's novels are projected onto a fog screen that welcomes visitors to a series of multimedia presentation rooms. Through interactive technology, visitors are able to learn more about Macau's cultural heritage and the cultural preservation process. This room tells the story of the 8-year restoration project of Zheng Guangying's house. Now, who is he? He's a writer who lived 100 years ago. He was from Macau, but he lived in Shanghai for a while. And he wrote a story about 100 years later, a World Expo happening in Shanghai. So right now, his dream is coming true. Apart from the videos, the multimedia section of the pavilion also provides a number of ways to take a closer look of the different facets of Macau. But I still haven't answered the question of what is a pawn shop doing in the UBPA area. Only in the last room did everything come together.
A pawn shop, a rider, and martial arts. What brings them together other than the fact that they're all from Macau? They show us the value of preserving historic architecture, stories and literature, and sports. These things make for a better city and a better life. That's exactly why a pawn shop is in the urban best practices area.